welcome Suraj to our summer series, kicking off some follow-up sessions from our Innovation Day session. For those of you that are watching us that don't know, my name is Matt Charlson. I'm DataBank CEO, and I'm here with Suraj Kika from Jadu. Suraj, do you want to introduce yourself real quick to anybody who might not know Jadu or yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I'm Suraj. I'm Jadu's CEO and founder, and Jadu specializes in digital self-service, right? So our mission is to become the world's most accessible digital platform. So we are obsessed with accessibility, Section 508, ADA compliance.
Yeah.
But essentially, what Jadu does is we create beautiful, accessible digital self-service experiences for government, for higher education, for commercial markets, and I suppose our objective is to help organizations become properly digital. And so, yeah, we're very specialist in everything from public service, self-service for sort of government, but also, we work with a lot of universities and commercial organizations all around the world.
So our intersection has been the public sector largely between DataBank and Jadu. So we've had a lot of really cool engagements with some of our customers in extending, say, a Highland on-base scenario to the public and all that. So it's been really exciting to work with you guys, and really excited to have you guys at our innovation event here a couple of weeks ago. A couple of the things that really stood out to me in your session was just the amount of public available content, right? That you had mentioned, like, what is your largest available, public content out online, and that's the website, right? So that's what you guys are focused on. So you also dropped a really cool bomb in terms of how agents are taking over some of the software world right now, and potentially how they're changing the search world and paradigm. Why is that such a timely topic right now?
Well, I think for the longest time, the last 2 years have kind of gone past like a whirlwind, and for the longest time we've been looking, we being customers, enterprises, organizations have been looking for use cases where they can actually practically apply AI and large language models in their business. I think there's a couple of things that have fundamentally changed. And I suppose more recently, the way we search has changed because of what's, on device now. So for example, a few months ago, Apple announced that, one of the main methods for people searching now was using ChatGPT or using Siri, and it's becoming more intelligent. And so they're not using search as much. And
Google, I just saw a Google news article last weekend that talked about reductions in workforce at Google based on the drop in search traffic and all that. So yeah, it's an important topic for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, and you can see it tangibly in your browser right now. So if you go to Google right now, or you go to Bing, it unfurls with Gemini or Copilot, doesn't it? So you probably don't even get to the search results. And I think the expectation of people has changed. People want answers and tasks now. They're not necessarily looking, forward to rifling through tons of sponsored AdWords or results before they get their answer.
And AI agents are really behind a lot of that searching piece right now, right? So they're doing a lot of the work. Just zooming out with it for agents, honestly, for a second, what makes agents different than like traditional automation? Like we're hearing agents kind of taking over. We're getting involved in so many different pieces, including automation right now. But what makes them different than just general automation from Jadu's perspective?
I think the ability to reason is probably the most fundamental difference between what agents are capable of doing and what they're capable of automating and understanding versus traditional automation, which is always usually business logic or rules-based. As we all know, human beings, when they're speaking naturally, when they're asking a question, it doesn't always follow the same pattern that enables the triggering of rules. So I think reasoning is probably the biggest difference. And that's why agents have the potential to do so much more, because of their ability to interpret, think, and then respond accordingly.
When I was trying to rationalize agents versus automation and learning about use cases, for agents, one of the things that really resonated with me was a use case regarding trying to go out and collect information from, say, a citizen, right? Or some external user, in some case, maybe it's a benefits enrollment or some kind of application process. And the idea that I could turn the agent to that task and say, go get that documentation from that external party, right? And, recognize what's coming back in, make sure it's the right thing, and then insert it into the file where it needs to go and get back to me on that. And just the round trips that the agent might take to make sure that task got completed, as opposed to that being a manual effort by somebody. So the agent could go out, collect that information from somebody. They know that's actually an expired passport, or that's the wrong document, the wrong application. You didn't sign it, whatever the exceptions might be, and continue on that journey or those steps as many times as possible. That's where the reasoning comes in. That's where the agent is actually, it's a really cool, I thought that was a really neat use case, like saying, agents can do a lot of things that automation has been doing, but what happens when there's an exception and it needs to think for itself and try to actually complete that task and not involve humans so many times, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent use case, and that is one of the defining differences between using an agent and using regular automation. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jadu is building agents into your search and into your core software. We talked about the use cases that you're using that for search. You may want to show us, a demo if you want to, but like, what's unique about that approach from a Jadu perspective, and how are agents getting embedded into your product?
I mean, we've been looking at this problem for the past, I want to say 18 months of intensive R&D. It's only really about, I want to say 6 months ago, when one of our chief digital officer for one of our big customers sat down with me just over coffee, spun his phone around and said, look, there's two big problems with our platform. The first one is I can't find the task. I want to do something simple, like I want to pay my my taxes using a credit card. All I really want to do is find that one task, and I have to scroll and I have to tap. The other thing is search, right? So I don't know whether you've noticed this, Matt, but people are particularly younger people, but also our generation are starting to use their phones differently. I can't type. And so whenever I'm on my phone, I now use voice dictation because it's way more sophisticated. And the difference is when you're using your voice, you're not going to search using keywords. You're going to search using language.
You're going to speak to the device, right? Yeah.
Right.
To the donor.
Yeah. So he showed me a search where we were using he was using natural language, and it resulted in no results using a Google powered web search. And so we thought, well, that's a brilliant use case for a large language model, right? And many of the sort of the major players, OpenAI, Anthropic, they've produced really high quality APIs for their voice features. So if you take OpenAI, for example, it understands and is fluent in over 70 languages. It speaks different dialects. So we've recently been experimenting with a Scottish dialect, and we did some work on an experiment, a county in Utah, and we use a Utah local dialect, right? And it's just that ability for AI to be able to understand the sentiment that a customer is talking about and respond intelligently, not just with the answer, but in a sympathetic way, almost like
notice that when I've been using OpenAI and ChatGPT's advanced voice mode, they just call it, right? And that's even like in the short time I've been using that more and more, that's changed a lot, whether it's learning behaviors or whether it's changing its dialect to accommodate to me. But and you end up having a very natural conversation, right? Including interruptions and including, correcting what you're saying or refining what you're saying along the way, just like you would in a normal combo.
We can take a look if you like. And
that'd be great.
Let me share my screen, and I'll show you an example. Well, I'll show you a couple of examples, actually. So this is a prototype website for the customer that we met. Let me show you the problem first. So if I go to the main sort of website and I search for, I have a noisy neighbor here. She's lovely, but boy, does she shriek. She's got 3 young children. If I want to make a report, yeah, exactly. I have a noisy, so pretend I'm speaking. I have a noisy neighbor. I'd like to report. Forgive my typing. I did say I can't type.
You can't step that, right? Yeah, you're right. You're correct.
I live in, and I'll just put my zip code in, B11BB. So what I'm doing 3 things here. Firstly, I'm using intent-based search. My intent is to tell you that I have a noisy neighbor. I'd like to make a report, and I'm telling you where I live. And that's a perfectly reasonable request for any sophisticated portal or self-service website. What do you think will happen when I click search? This is powered by Google, by the way, the Google programmable search. What do you think will happen?
I think we're probably going to see some kind of a natural language response, right? Some kind of a generated response. But I think the cool thing being here, like you talked about keywords before, this is not a keyword search, right? I'm actually saying three things in this one short sentence. I'm saying what my problem is, what I want to do, and where I'm at, as opposed to filling out a form or going through an interview process, which would be multiple screens, multiple steps, right? So
Yeah. And so exactly. And so because I'm searching using natural language and I'm searching using intent, I don't get any results.
yeah.
The Google programmable search cannot interpret. Now, if I search for noisy neighbor, I would.
So this is the more traditional search, is what you're showing. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if I search for noisy neighbor, for example, oh well, first of all, it will correct my typo, which an agent would just ignore. It just say, look, I know what you mean. I'm not going to tell you misspelt it, right? And then because I'm searching now using keywords, I get the result I'm looking for, right? So I get the report a noisy nuisance. But it's that intent-based search that just doesn't work. Let's try it on a different.
It's almost like it's a research, like the first search that you did is almost like it's a research project, right? It's giving you references to something that might be appropriate, but you still have a lot of work to do to actually accomplish your task. Now you're more annoyed than you were with the noisy neighbor.
Exactly, precisely. I'm getting doubly annoyed. So let's ask phoenix.gov and I'm not picking on, this is the same for any website, right? Yeah. Any website on the globe will have the same problem. Let's say I'd like to make a FOIA request. There we go. Now, if I hit enter on search, that's a perfectly reasonable request, right? If I enter, I get no results. Now, if I just typed FOIA request, it would probably work. So let's go back to the noisy neighbor question. And so let's say I'd like to report a noisy, I'm so sorry, neighbor. I live in B11BB. So again, I'm giving the three things: my problem, what I'd like to do about it, and where I live in my zip code. And I'm going to hit search. And immediately I get a response.
Here's the response. Okay. All right.
So what happened is, this is the Agent X search product from Jadu. It's basically a AI-powered, multiple LLM-powered search agent. And essentially what it's done is it's given me the task immediately, because the task is the most important thing. But it's also written out, the steps I need to take, or it's actually really where you should try and resolve it with them first before you go ahead and report them, right? Pretty rational, which is pretty good.
Yep.
But what happens if I wanted to actually speak my query? So I'm just going to hit this microphone button here. I have a noisy neighbor I'd like to report. I live in B11BB. So it's understood what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's written me a
noise nuisance is still a problem.
Can you hear that?
Speaking with your neighbor. Actually report on his land phone. Please.
So for the first time, I can actually have a conversation with a website. One more thing. I suppose this is my Steve Jobs moment. What if English wasn't my first spoken language? Let's go over to Google Translate. So that's one of the most powerful things Google has written, right? Excuse me. Let me just go and copy my query. Copy that to the pasteboard. Paste that in here. We can try Polish. Let's go for Polish. I'll copy that.
I won't know if this is right anyway, but that's perfect.
Do you speak another language, Matt?
I do not.
Let's try Polish then.
I've already thought of mine.
So I'm going to make my query in Polish this time. I'm going to hit search, and immediately it's responded in Polish. And if I want to hear that back, now Agent X Search is fluent in more than 70 languages.
Jeśli masz głośnego sąsiada i mieszkasz w Birmingham, kod pocztowy B1, 1BB, najpierw spróbuj.
Just one more thing. This is a county in Utah. Let's ask for a FOIA request. I'd like to make a FOIA request. I should have just asked, shouldn't I? Rather than type. So again, what Agent X is doing is it's using the website content as it's and written all of that into memory, into the RAG, and it's now
index the entire website, which is that organization's largest publicly available content. Right, if you get it right.
Precisely. Let's just hear it. Oh, great! Everything live demos are perfect.
All right.
I'd like to make a FOIA request.
To make a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request in Wasatch County, please contact the Clerk Auditor's Office.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an obvious use case, right? That we could not build it. So
Yeah, and the one thing that you said at Innovation Day in your talk was something that really resonated, I think, with everybody in the audience. But what if I could tell you they have an employee, right, that was fluent in all the languages? I don't know how many languages you say, 7 languages, always on, doesn't sleep, and knows everything about the organization according to the website. That was a powerful statement. I remember you saying that after that demo, especially when you say, whatever language you're coming in and whatever language needs to go out, we've got it covered. I thought it was powerful.
yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the return on investment for any organization, and think about the use cases of just that as well. Even if you didn't deploy it on your public website, imagine if you deployed that internally in your organization. Your contact center, it's immediate knowledge management. They have knowledge of everything at the fingertips. Employee onboarding, vendor self-service. There's a ton of things that you could apply this to that will help you make your organization more efficient, intelligent. It's business at the speed of thought, which is what Bill Gates always used to talk about.
And as we're learning with anything AI right now, it is rapidly changing. So it's good to get going now. It's good to get on board because the technology is getting better, faster, cheaper, more sophisticated, or, it seems like every week.
The pace at which we're moving now is just phenomenal. And, OpenAI announced just a few weeks ago that they've significantly lowered the cost of tokens. And that brings the cost of this technology way down. So you can apply it to search, and it's all about
It's common and rapid in search, right? It makes it affordable to do so now. Yeah.
And it's a fundamental need. Every organization that's ever existed has a website. And someone asked me what the future of websites is, and I genuinely think that you could have agents crafting user experiences, on the fly as you go, from its knowledge, from its memory. And on the Birmingham case that I showed you, they have 27,000 pages of content, all memorized by agent research. So it's able to understand. We're also experimenting with agents that can fill forms out or even generate forms on the fly. So having a conversation, they can build a form, submit the data in a structured format straight into a back office system, pretty much.
Yeah. So a noise complaint scenario, for instance, right? Typically, as anything public sector related, everything starts with a form, right? So I'm complaining about a noisy neighbor. Now I know what to need to do. I can say, I need to submit this, and it's going to start to fill that out for me based on the information I've already just spoken to it, right? That's cool. That's really cool.
The important thing, though, is that the way this approach to agents, is kind of designed, it's kind of moving away from the annoying chatbot experience.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you had a great experience with a chatbot?
It's rare. It's rare.
So
What I want, but yeah.
But you're basically having a conversation, you're explaining your problem, it's collecting the information in the background, giving you answers, and it's all about answers now and not results, right? And if it's a serious case, if it needs human intervention, an agent is able to flag that in the background. You might get a call back from a human being to ask you about if it's a particularly sensitive case or it needs an empathetic human being. So those points of escalation can occur as well, which is essential for public service.
And that's back to the reasoning piece, right? It's based on that interaction. We didn't have to say it's a rule, but it's going to flag that, like you said. It's going to understand that there's something out of norm here. We may need to escalate this to an operator, to a human. So yeah, that's really cool. What are some of the challenges you're seeing right now, like out in the field? Customers that have viewers that are trying to do some of this. What are the blockers that are out there? Is it budget? Is it data? Just acceptance? People be nervous about this? Like, what do you see as commonly holding people back right now?
I think it's a little bit of all of those things, actually, Matt. There is a huge thirst in leadership, in organizations, so the C-suite, in having this technology. Yeah. And then as it filters down through the organization, there are many roadblocks. And so the first thing we found is that people are nervous about where their content is being stored. So we took that into consideration. And the first thing we built was something, to your point earlier, what is the biggest repository that you have of public content that you've published openly anyway? And it's on your website, immediate benefit. But internally, when you're talking about sensitive data, when you're talking about privacy, all of those concerns, those are some of the biggest challenges that we're currently working through now. And we've got some really incredible, unique solutions. Like the reason we partner with DataBank, which is a very unique partnership, is because of the speciality that DataBank has in understanding how to prepare an organization to be AI ready, to create structure in all of that content, to make sense in all of that mess, and what's private and what isn't. And that is key for AI for agents to work right, because it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't structure the content in the right way, if you don't prepare your content in the right way, you're basically setting up your agents to fail. But the same would apply for human beings, right? If you don't give them the right data at the right time, it goes wrong anyway.
Yeah, they get around the same conflicts that people run into. So that makes it a lot of sense. What just a little bit out in the future, like next, and it's hard to look too far in the future right now with how rapid things are changing. But like the next year or so, from a Jadu perspective, like what are the next the exciting things that the companies will be working on going forward?
Matt,
not that there's not a lot of saying things right now in front of us, but like just how does that evolve, I guess, right?
Yeah, I have to be careful not to leak all the commercial secrets, because all the best, come from the top, don't they? We are just on the eve of Jadu Academy, which is our conference. It's happening in London this year. And so we're about to announce a new platform. And I suppose I've not been this excited since we started Jadu up like 24 years ago, because it's a chance to really make a dent in the universe when it comes to technology and how we can leverage what's happening right now. So we are building so you saw Agent X Search there, and it's the first agentic product that Jadu has launched, first of many. But we're launching a zero code factory, so organizations can build agents themselves, like the one you just saw, without auditing a line of code. Yeah. So we're super excited about launching that next month.
That's cool. Well, good. Well, I think just to kind of wrap up a little bit here, some key points, right? Search is obviously changing, right? Search has changed, right? The numbers are there. Search has gotten a lot more sophisticated with these agents. It's gotten a lot better with agentic AI. And that ship is sailing very quickly in a certain direction. Customers' data, and there's a lot of public available data on their website. Generally speaking, it's available and AI ready today. I mean, that's been one of the large blockers like we talked about, is my data ready for AI? And you're right, DataBank has found a lot of success in helping consult organizations through that. But generally speaking, the website is AI ready in a lot of cases today, because it's public, it's there, it's accessible, generally not duplicated or conflicting data out there. So it's a great place to start, I guess is the point, right? Any other key points you think would be wise to recap with so far on this?
I think, as with any new emerging technology that's moving really fast, organizations just have to start somewhere. You've got to find a use case. You've got to trust your partner, so DataBank, and to guide you in the right way. And you've just got to be brave and go. That's where the innovation happens. And with any technology now, it can be iterated fast.
Right.
You do your learning in the first weeks of launch. You beta test, you test with customers, we test your users, you make sure it's accessible, you launch it, you trust your partner, and you just carry on innovating, through iteration, being agile, making sure you can push through. And that's what gives organizations competitive advantage. That's what makes public service something people, you don't enjoy making a complaint about a pothole or, reporting a noisy neighbor, whatever it is, but it should be something you don't have to think about. And technology allows us to do that now. And
it can be an enjoyable experience, even though in a difficult situation, perhaps it can still be an enjoyable experience in getting there. So yeah, absolutely. I'd love to encourage people that are watching us today to book a consult with us. Let us come in and chat about these things. Maybe show some of this technology at a deeper level, and explore a use case together. And like you said, like let's prototype and let's start somewhere. I mean, that's the best place to start, is just to pick an option and go, and we'll all learn from it and iterate from there. So. Well, Suraj, I just want to thank you for the time. It's been a great conversation. It's good to see you again. Thanks again for coming out to see us in Phoenix. And great to spend some time with you again today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Appreciate it.